How did my mom shape the way I parent today? We've always talked to each other about like what's going on, talked to her about like, boys that I've dated and, things that I've wanted to do with my life and stuff happening with friends. So I never felt like I couldn't talk to her about anything. And she always just, kind of gave me her opinion, and she didn't try to force me to do anything. She was never like, you can't do this, you can't. She wasn't the type of mom that tried to, limit what I had access to. And so I think that comes through very much in my interactions with my sons, because I also have to be mindful of the fact that I did not grow up with brothers, and especially being a Black man in America and trying to raise this person to have hopes and dreams, but also kind of work within a frame that lets them know they understand the parameters, right? I always have very honest conversations with them around what's going on in their lives and the decisions that they're making. My middle son took the blame for something that he didn't do, and I kind of had a conversation with him around this is something that actually happens with Black boys, where they could be swayed to take the rap for something that is not what they did, something that they're not responsible for, and I need you to be mindful of that. And again, these are conversations that I have to have, knowing that there are other parents that don't need to have these types of discussions, but I feel like my mom really set me up for success in that we always talked and we always kind of worked through these things together. And so that's what I try to do with them. That's a really good question. My hardest day as a mother actually hasn't necessarily been something that the boys have done, because sometimes kids act up and you have to deal with misbehaving and all of that and discipline, and I'm not the best at disciplining. I like to be the fun parent, but I can't always be. But I think my hardest day as a mother was when I had miscarriage, unfortunately, in November of 2018. I'd been pregnant for about maybe 6 weeks, and then there were just all of my pregnancies leading up to that point, I'd been pregnant twice before, were very straightforward. I was pregnant, everything was fine, I didn't have any issues, I didn't have to go on bed rest, it was all very by the book. And this pregnancy was very different. And I thought, well, they always say that they can be different. I was thinking maybe it's a girl this time, that's why it's so different. And so what it turned out to be was a chemical pregnancy. And so unfortunately I lost the baby, but I was able to kind of look at it in a light of, I'd lost the baby so early on in the process that there wasn't any damage done to me necessarily, and that, obviously the child was still just a very small thing and hadn't fully formed, and so there wasn't any pain, I would say. But that was probably my hardest day as a mother, and the way that looked for me is really just being surrounded by that love. When I came home to the boys to tell them what had happened, because, they were excited about the new baby, and I had to let them know what had happened, and we cried, but we also hugged each other and we spent time with one another. And so on my hardest days as a mother, I kind of lean more into the love, because I know that oftentimes how I'm feeling in the moment isn't necessarily what's true for forever, right? So even though that part in time is very difficult, I know that there are obviously better days on the other side of it. And because I have the foundation that I do, I know that it will get better. I think one of the things that comes to mind immediately, so my first son I had in the hospital, and it wasn't a terrible experience, but it wasn't optimal for me. I think in hospitals, they're trying to get you in and get you out quickly. There's a proclivity toward using drugs to kind of speed the labor process along. And so there were things about my first labor that I wasn't necessarily as happy about. And so for our second son, we wanted to do a birthing center, because it's very non-invasive. They kind of just leave you to your devices unless there's some signs of distress. And then obviously they can send you to a hospital if there's something wrong with the baby. But otherwise they kind of let nature take its course, which I was a big fan of. And we were on our way to the birthing center, and we had to be driven because ambulance won't take you. They'll only take you to a hospital. So an aunt of ours was driving us to the birthing center, but it's in Flatbush. I live in Crown Heights, so it's a ways. And it was also raining. One thing that I didn't notice until too late was that this baby was coming much faster than the first. And so when we were in the car, I could feel the baby actually coming down. And my husband said, do you want to pull over and call an ambulance so we can go to the hospital? or do you want to have a baby in the back of this car? And I chose to have the baby in the back of the car because I really did not want to go to the hospital. And I was hoping that, maybe we would make it, like just by the skin of our teeth to the birthing center. However, we did not. But that's like a badge of honor that dad gets to wear, that he delivered his second son inside the back of the car. So that's a fun story. But I feel like some people might have been like, you didn't want to pull over and wait for the ambulance to go to the hospital? You'd rather do it in the back of the car? But I wanted a different experience, and I trusted my husband more than a doctor in a hospital. So I went with that instead. I hope that one day they understand that it was never a choice between anything. They were always number one for me, and everything that I did was in service to making sure that they were safe, that they felt loved, they could explore their interests and really feel like they could be their true selves. I never want them to think like, mommy worked so much. I worked because I wanted to be able to give them the things that they have, but then I also worked hard enough so that I could then have time off to be able to, do things with them and have different experiences. And so that's really important to me, just that they know that everything was done in service of them and me being a mom. But I think if they were to describe me as a person, they'd probably say she's very nice, she laughs and smiles a lot. They probably say that I'm tall. They consider me tall. They've said I have a nice smile, so I've heard that before. My middle son Tyler likes to say that I dress very fancy or elegant, so I guess maybe that could be in the description, but it also depends on what day you catch me. Yeah, but those are the things I think that they would describe me as. I'm definitely going to ask them after I get home. Something that my child, or my children actually, have taught me about life, because they've all taught me this to varying degrees, is to just be myself. I think it's so important when we're kids. That's us at our truest selves, I feel like. And the older we get, the more, all these other things come in, prejudices and what you learn from this person and what you experience with that person, and it kind of colors how you interact and present yourself to the world. But if they've taught me anything, it's really just to be myself, and that's changed over the years. So obviously who I was when I was 5 or 15 is not the same now that I'm 40. And so just thinking through how I show up in the world and how I want people to experience me now is really important. And they've always been themselves. They have never tried to go along with the crowd, even when they're with, their peers. We homeschooled them for many years. They actually just went into school this year. And one of the things that I'd worried about when they went into school is how much they would assimilate to, fit in with the kids, because now you're in a school building 8 hours a day. You have to kind of, get along to go along. And I'm really happy to see that they have stayed true to themselves, and they've found their friends, and they don't have any issues. Their teachers love them, and so they're themselves and they're thriving. So I can do the same. I think I feel closest to my children when we're sharing something that either of us really enjoy. So one thing that we do on the weekends is sometimes we'll watch old movies or TV shows that I loved or my husband loved as a kid, and see how they switch on to it. Or sometimes they have their own interests and they like to show me those things and say, watch this part, and did you see that thing? So my oldest is really into Dragon Ball, and that was around when I was younger, so it's not anything new, but it is nice to kind of experience it with him as something newer. And then also we watch a lot of cartoons in our house. But I think probably I feel the closest to them when we're sharing something that we really enjoy. So that's going to the movies, going to the museums together, going to the park, but just when we're kind of with each other and experiencing life, I feel like is when I feel closest to them. Yeah. Growing up, love in my home looked like, I guess I would say, service. My mom was a single mother, and so she worked. She also went and got her master's degree and then a graduate degree, and so she was very busy, but I understood that all of the things that she was doing was really in service of giving us a better life. She was married to my father for many years, and then when they got divorced, we moved to New York. I really just saw her kind of trying to make the decisions that would put her in a better position and then also put us in a better position as far as our opportunities and what we had access to. So yeah, love looked like service. Love also was, I want to say, demonstrative. So I didn't come from a family that didn't say I love you or didn't like show that they loved each other. Like it wasn't something that was just understood. Like we said I love you to each other. We would hug and cuddle and just spend time, and that was something that was important to us as well. And I would say that I like to mirror that. Thankfully, I am not a single mother. I have my husband. We've been together for 20 years now. And so we've raised our boys together, and we've been able to provide them with a foundation that I think is very different from what he had growing up and what I had growing up. I am very affectionate with my boys. They still like to cuddle with me. I feel like I'm getting closer to the cutoff because my oldest is about to be a teenager or is a teenager. So I know I don't have much time left with that, but we are a very loving family, and we do express that openly. So the cycle that I'm trying to continue from my childhood is really just what my mom did for my sisters and I. I mean, I feel like this was the experience, and I know that sometimes siblings grow up in a house together and their experience of their parents are wildly different. But I feel like she always tried to provide us with a space where we felt safe, where we felt like we could be ourselves, we could do what we wanted, obviously within reason, being respectful and mindful of rules. But I want to kind of continue that trend to make sure that they understand that they always have a place that they can return to. And my mom has always made that apparent to all of us throughout our lives. If we need any help, all we have to do is ask her. We can go to her house, we can pick up the phone, like whatever the case may be. But just knowing that that's always open and available to us, I want to make sure that my sons know that they can always come home, that they always know that I'll support them, that I will help them, not necessarily avoid the consequences of their actions, but to make sure that they have someone to support them in facing whatever is coming at them. One thing that I would actually not want to continue from my childhood though is, I feel like in some ways my mom didn't necessarily have as much freedom as she could have. Again, she was a single mother, and her primary focus was really just, making sure we had the things that we needed. We were doing well in school. Obviously, bills are paid, bellies are full, all of that. But I really do think she's kind of leaned more into doing travel and doing things with friends. But I kind of think that maybe she didn't date as much because we were so young and she didn't want to expose us to different people. But I don't know if that's something that she worries about. But I just don't want to be as sacrificing as I feel like she may have been. I want to make sure that I'm also paying attention to what I need, not as a mother, but as a woman. And then just thinking through like how that interfaces with the other parts of my life. So I'm the youngest of three. And so my youngest of three, I can see some of the behaviors and habits that a baby would exhibit. And it also rings true to like sometimes how I might, be very sweet because I'm the baby, and like I'm kind of the favorite because you're your mother's last baby, and so sometimes you get a little preferential treatment, and I feel like sometimes my youngest will lean on that, and so I sometimes do recognize that, but I try to give them each the same amount of access to me and just experience and time, so that it doesn't seem like it's preferential treatment. One thing I will say that I see in them that is a good thing is when they interact with other children. They're very caring. My middle son, Tyler, he's very empathetic and he loves to help other people and make sure that everyone feels involved. And also my oldest son feels the same way. So like when they go to the park, they like to include all the kids in whatever game they're playing. They like to, make connections and make sure that they're sharing with others and being as gracious and as nice as they can be. So those are some of the things that I see in them that make me feel good about who I am as a person and how I'm coming across as a parent.